Alright, so what I'm basically doing over here is that I'm gonna give you this equation over here, and I ask you, let's go ahead and draw the graph of this equation over here. Will you be able to do so? Okay, without plugging in, you know, a lot of points. So like I'm not allowing you to plot a lot of points, like arbitrary choosing x and y. So without that, let's go ahead and draw this graph. Will you be able to do that? Well, I know you might be saying, well, certainly not. Well, that's why you guys are here to watch this video, because in this video I'm gonna exactly show you every step, like step by step. So there are basically 8 steps to figure out the graph of this, to basically sketch this graph given only this equation over here. Okay, so let's jump into that. Alright, so now we're basically on our question over here, and we're gonna try to sketch it step by step. So what is the first step? Okay, so like I told you in the previous video, so the step 1 is always to figure out the domain. Okay, so once we have the domain, what do we do? Well, how can we figure out the domain? Well, because it's a rational function, we see the denominator. Okay, so we always make it equals to 0, but since it's a square root function, so that's why we have to make it equals to 0. Now the square root is gonna go to the other side, so I'm only left with this one, so I can basically have x is greater than equals to -1. Okay, so this is basically my domain. So I have just figured out my domain in this case. Okay, so domain of the function. Now what is gonna be my step 2? So step 2 is always to figure out the f prime of x and f prime prime of x. So the finding the first derivative and the second derivative of the function. Okay, and since it's a rational function over here, so we have our f as the first one, as the top one, and g as the bottom one. Okay, so I have to figure out my f prime, which is basically gonna be 2x, and then I have to figure out my g prime. Okay, so my g is basically, so my g is square root of x plus 1, so that is basically same as to the power of a half. Okay, so I'm gonna have a half x to the power of 1 negative a half and times the derivative of this expression, so 1, the inside function 1. Okay, so I have this over here. So now I just go ahead and use quotient rule to solve this. So if I use my quotient rule, so if f prime times g negative g prime times f over g squared, I plug everything, my f and g, so the final answer that I'm gonna end up is basically gonna be x times 3x plus 4. Okay, and then I'm gonna have 2x plus 1 to the power of 3 over 2. Okay, so I basically solved a lot of problems like this in my derivative video. So if you guys wanna figure out how did I solve this, so make sure to check out my derivative videos for that. Okay, so now once I have this one, I have to basically find the f prime prime, so the second derivative of this one. So here my f is gonna be this function over here, the top one, and my g function is gonna be this one. So I'm gonna have to basically differentiate this f and g again, and then plug it into the formula, so that at the end I'm gonna basically arrive at this equation over here. So this is basically gonna be my derivative over here, the second derivative. Okay, so this is the step 2 over here. Now moving to step 3. Okay, so step 3 is basically to figure out the inflection point and the critical point. Okay, so the critical point, how do we figure out the critical point? Well, we always take the first derivative and then we make it equals to 0, and for the inflection point we always make the second derivative equals to 0. Okay, so because we are given as this one, so we are given a top and bottom function, so we always gonna take that numerator in this case. So here we have this over here, and we are trying to figure out the critical point, so we're gonna make the first derivative top the numerator equals to 0. So here I'm gonna basically have 2 equations over here. The first one is gonna be x equals to 0, and the second one is basically gonna be this one. So now I try to isolate this one, so I basically get -4 over 3 in here. Okay, so I have this over here. So I basically figured out 2 critical points in this case, as you guys can see, but there's a catch over here. You do not have these 2 critical points. However, you only have 1 critical point, which is this one. Well, why am I saying that? I know you are confused, but look at that. You basically have x is greater than equals to -1. However, you have this one as x equals to -4 over 3. So this point doesn't even lie in the domain, because it's like it's outside the domain. We are taking only values greater than equals to -1. Okay, so only values after -1. So all the values before -1, you are not going to take them. So you're basically going to discard this one. Okay, so this is what you're gonna do. So now once we have our critical point, we move on to the inflection point. Okay, so the inflection point, we make the second derivative equals to 0. So we have the numerator of the second one as this one. So let's go ahead and make this one equals to 0 right now. Okay, so I have this one over here. I make this equals to 0. So here you can solve it using the quadratic formula, which is b squared minus 4ac over 2a, and plus and minus square root and -b. Okay, so you have this one as well. So here your a A in this case is this one, B in this case is this one, and C in this case is this one. So you just go ahead and plug in into the formula. So you're gonna get 8 squared, negative 4 times 3 times 8 divided by 2 times 3. So here, as you guys can see, the square root, because it's gonna give you a positive and negative number, but here in this case the square root that you get, so you basically end up getting a negative number, and the square root of a negative number, that doesn't exist, that gives you a math error. So that basically means you basically have no inflection points. Okay, so no inflection point, and this one is discarded. So your only answer for step 3 is x equals to 0. Okay, so now let's move on to step number 4. So when the graph is increasing or decreasing is when the first derivative is positive or negative. Concave up when the second derivative is positive and the second derivative is negative. Okay, so that's basically what you have to do. Okay, so now for the intervals, you're gonna go ahead and write like this. So you have your negative infinity to positive infinity. Okay, and you know that there is a critical point at x equals to 0. However, you can go back to the top. So the domain of the function, you guys know that it's already x is greater than equals to -1. So all the values after -1, so before -1, you do not even consider the function. So like here we have -1. So all these things before -1, you're not going to consider this. Okay, so you're just going to remove that part. So let's go ahead and remove this. Okay, so you know that your function is basically supposed to start at -1 and then afterwards. Okay, and what about at -1? Does it exist at -1 or not? Well, here I remember I wrote x is greater than equals to -1. Well, because you guys can see it is at the denominator. So if I go ahead and put x equals to -1 in the denominator, what do I get? Well, I get 0 in the denominator. Well, because I get 0 in the denominator, that means that 0 doesn't even exist in this function over here. So that means at x equals to -1, the function doesn't exist. Okay, so there's a discontinuity over there. So that means here, because usually what we do is that every time we're gonna have a square root, we make it a greater than equal to 0. But because the square root is at the denominator, okay, so that means we have to put only greater than equals to greater than 0. Okay, so the equals to is gonna cancel out. So your answer is just gonna be x is greater than -1. Okay, so there is a discontinuity at x equals to -1. So here at -1, it's not gonna be included as well. Okay, now once you have your intervals over here, so once you have your intervals over here, so you have your first interval as -1 to 0, and then your second interval as 0 to positive infinity. So you have your two intervals given to you like this one. Okay, so you have your f prime over here, you have your f prime prime. So first derivative and second derivative. So you're going to put any points, so choose any points in this interval that you see from -1 to 0, and then plug it into any point in this case, okay, in this f prime function and this f prime prime function. So any point that you're gonna put inside. Okay, and try to figure out. So for example, in here we can put -0.5 in this case. Okay, so if we go ahead and put -0.5, so it can you can basically choose any value. Okay, so you're gonna go ahead and notice only the sign of it after plugging in any arbitrary value in this interval from the f prime. Okay, so I'm gonna plug into the f prime, and similarly I'm gonna do the same thing over here, and then notice the sign of the final answer that I get. Okay, so for example, if the final answer I get -2, so it's gonna be negative. Okay, if the final answer I get is +8, so that means it is positive. Okay, so I'm just gonna notice the sign by plugging in any arbitrary value within this interval. It could be 1, it could be 2, it could be 4, any number, and I'm gonna plug in into the f prime equation that I figured out and the f prime prime equation that I figured out. That's why it's really important to figure out the correct derivative. Okay, it's you have to know your derivatives very well. Okay, so you have your positive over here, and then you're gonna have this one as positive as well. So what does that tell you? If your function is basically negative for the f prime, that means your function is basically decreasing function. Okay, so here you're basically gonna have an increasing function. Okay, and if your f prime prime is basically a positive number, that basically tells you that it's concave up, and here similarly here you have concave up as well. If it was negative, so then you would have concave down. Okay, and now for step 5, we basically go ahead and determine our local max and min, or the inflection points that we had. Okay, so inflection points, we already know that we didn't have any because there was no inflection point, and you can verify it from here as well because we have positive over here, so there's no inflection point. Inflection point only occurs when it goes from positive to negative or negative to positive. Okay, so like when there's a change in sign. So here from the increasing function, you guys can see if the function was basically decreasing because it's negative, so function was decreasing, and then it went after this interval, it went to increasing, because the function was decreasing and then it went to increasing. So that means there you guys have to have a local min in this case. Okay, so that means we're gonna have a local min here. So here we have a local min at x equals to 0, okay, because it happened at this interval over here. So that means we should have a local min. But if it was the other way around, positive negative, so the function was increasing, it went down, so that means you're gonna have a local max in this case. Okay, so now because we have x equals to 0, we're gonna try to plug it into the original function x equals to 0, so we're basically gonna get 0. So we have our local min as basically 0, 0. So we have this one as well. So inflection point, there's none. So we can move on to the step 6, which is basically to figure out the asymptotes, the vertical or horizontal asymptotes. So the step 6 is basically to figure out the vertical and horizontal asymptotes. Okay, so before we move on to step number 6, I know it's really hard for you guys to write the notes along with following this video. So that's why I have organized all the notes of this Cal 1 playlist. So the whole playlist, every notes, every video, you can find all the notes by scanning this QR code. Okay, so you'll basically find everything, all the notes of this playlist. You just have to scan this notes that you guys see over here. Just scan this QR code and this will leave you to the notes, and you can always buy them. And the link to that you can also find it in the description below. Okay, so let's continue with the video. So we're gonna make the limit as -1 from the right of the equation that was already given to us of the original equation that we had. Okay, so we are basically going to put this as -1 from the right side, because we know that there is basically discontinuity at -1, so that's why we're gonna do this. Okay, so now we can go ahead and solve this one, and at the top we're gonna have a 1, and here we can choose any number from the right side of -1, so that will basically give you a positive number, and you can report it as 0 from the right side. So 1 over 0, that basically gives you an infinity, and because it was a positive number, so that means you're gonna have a positive infinity. So that means your vertical asymptote basically exists at x equals to -1, and you already know that from the domain as well. The function doesn't exist, so there is a vertical asymptote at x equals to -1 as well. Okay, and now for the limit as x approaches infinity, for the horizontal asymptote, what you're going to do, you're going to approach the function, the original function that is given to you, as x approaches infinity. Okay, so now you just go ahead and solve this limit over here. So you're basically gonna get infinity. Okay, and if you guys don't know how to figure out the horizontal or vertical limits, okay, as x approaches infinity or any other number, so I have already made a lot of videos on that in my Calculus 1 playlist, so make sure to watch that out to review that. Okay, so now once you do this, so you know there's gonna be a horizontal asymptote at x equals to, okay, so we have a horizontal asymptote at x equals to infinity. So we basically have a horizontal asymptote at infinity and a vertical asymptote at x equals to -1. Okay, so now moving on to our step number 7, which is basically to figure out the intercepts, the x and y intercept. So if I go ahead and plug in x equals to 0 into the equation, I get y equals to 0. So that basically gives me the intercept, the x and y intercept, which is only one of them, which is 0 and 0. Okay, so I just figured out my intercept over here in this case as well. Okay, so now I basically have everything packed into one thing. Okay, so what I basically have is I have a lot of pieces at this point to be able to figure out this graph. I have my increasing function, concave up, concave down. Okay, so intercepts and everything. So now my job is basically gonna be to pack every information that I have figured out into a graph. Okay, so what I basically gonna have is, okay, I'm just gonna go ahead and draw the graph. So I'm basically gonna go ahead and draw the graph in this case. So I'm gonna write like this. So I know my intercept is basically 0, 0 in this case over here. So my intercept is like this, and I know there is a vertical asymptote at x equals to -1, so it should be looking like this one. Okay, and I know my horizontal asymptote. Okay, so once I know this, now I basically have to know the shape of the graph at each interval. So this is what basically what is gonna tell me. So I have the function as negative and positive, so that means the function is basically decreasing and concave up. Okay, so the function is basically decreasing, but it's concave up, so like bending upward. So it is how it's gonna look like over this interval over here. Okay, so this is how my function looks like over -1 to 0. Okay, so from -1 to 0, my function is gonna look like this. So decreasing, but then it's gonna be like concave up, so like bending upwards. So like this, but it has to be hit at 0 0 because there's an intercept at 0 0. Okay, so now afterwards at 0 to positive infinity, my function is basically increasing in concave up. Okay, so my function is basically gonna be increasing and then bending upwards, so concave up. So now my function, I know that it's gonna look like this one, and also I know from here that as x approaches infinity, my y basically is gonna approach infinity. Okay, so here as my x so here, as you guys can see, as I'm approaching x as infinity, so my y is basically approaching infinity over here. And similarly over here, as I'm approaching -1 from the right side, so as I'm approaching -1 from the right side, the y value are basically approaching y value are basically approaching positive infinity. Okay, so here I have as x approaches -1, y equals to infinity in this case, and in here I have as x approaches infinity, y approaches infinity. Okay, so this is basically the graph that I have drawn over here. So okay, so that was it for the graph for this question, and in the next video we'll basically be solving all these questions over here. So make sure to check out the calculus 1 playlist so you guys don't miss all these questions over here. So I'm going to be solving them one by one, so make sure to check out each video so that you can do all these practice problems. Okay, so I'll see you in the next videos. Thanks for watching. Bye.